Hello and welcome. My name is Gemstone, and today we are back in the story of our life, beginning and always. We're going to continue right from where we left off as usual, with our options here being wave, growing dinner, and road trip. Hello, Potato. Welcome. How are you doing today? So, if I remember correctly, road trip is going to be our last one. So for now, maybe we'll just go ahead and do some wave. Playing deep rock, so might be silent, but kind of just hungry. Oh. Well, if you need to go get a snack, make sure to do that, because it's very good to have snacks when you're hungry. But playing deep rock, that sounds fun. Wait, this is the last one? Shouldn't be. I'm only on the second. Just mishearing things. Alright. No, so we're gonna continue with wave. Alrighty. So last time we did hear about how Lizzie's parents are gone, and she was excited to find out. Well, and not excited, sad. What am I doing? What am I talking about? Anyway, sorry. She was sad to find out that her parents were gone, but she was relieved to know what happened to them, is what I meant. I don't know what's going on with my brain right now. Just woke up. Mind is mushy, and 20 hours plus with no snackies make me more mush. 20 hours plus? Go eat! Oh man, that's not good. Can't. Everything closed at the moment. Game time and watching cool Gem play with boys. Hey! I'm sure there's a better way to word that. Evil cat face. Alrighty, well. Well, make sure to get snackies very soon, as soon as you can then. Alrighty. The family shopping trip had lasted most of the morning, and you still had to unload everything from the trunk before you could go enjoy the afternoon. You cradled another bag in your arms as you headed towards your house. It was one of the heavier bags from the grocery store, loaded with fresh apples, ripe tomatoes, a bunch of carrots, and even half a watermelon. Ooh, good summer stuff. Ma came out of the front door and paused just ahead of you.
It's no trouble.
Need any help with that gemstone? I can bring it the rest of the way if you want me to. No, I've got it. You are doing fine. I am a one-trip wonder. I will carry as much as possible whenever I can for whatever task. Which is interesting. Sometimes I'm sure I look like a fool doing it, but just like me for real, yeah. One trip always. I will carry something in my mouth if I have to. I am a menace. Anyway. Even if it was large, it wasn't really any problem for you. Ma gave you an encouraging grin and rustled her fingers through your gold hair. Sometimes I carry things on my legs, like hopping. Heck yeah. One trip. Except hopefully not the falling kind, which does happen sometimes. You set the next bag on the counter. Your older sister began to root around inside for the contents with a sigh. How much is left? Still a few more bags. With a huff and a puff, Elizabeth continued putting away the groceries, and you retreated out of the kitchen before you could become the target of her bad mood. You hadn't been looking where you were going, and bumped right into Mom, almost stepping on her toes to boot. Oh no, not the toes. Sorry. I can give you a pass this time. Just be sure to watch where you're going. If you run into the wrong person, you might get get your license revoked. She grinned at the bad jokes as you continued through the door. Outside, Ma had started organizing what remained and putting back any loose objects that had fallen out during the trip. How violently are y'all driving? That your groceries just fall out? When you stepped up to the trunk beside her, she took in a big breath of air, her dress gently swaying around in the breeze. It's a shame we had to spend the morning cooped up in that shopping center. It's a beautiful day, don't you think? Fast, 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 step on the gas. Yeah. They're going crazy around those small town corners. You tilted your head to the sky, gazing at the clear blue expanse. I like it when it's stormy the best. You thought of the past winter, remembering the nip of cool air that would travel off the sea. 5 miles per hour. It didn't snow in Sunset Bird. But being wrapped up in bed listening to the thunder and lightning gave you a certain sense of peace. Yes, absolutely. Thunderstorms, spring, autumn. Oh yeah, winter, heck yeah. The best. I do not like the summer. I'm impressed you can enjoy something like that. It's a good way to think. You smiled at her, turning back to the trunk to help out with the last of the bags. I love all seasons. That is valid. Because temperatures are great. That is fair. I like certain temperatures better than others, and I'm sure you do as well, but every once in a while a nice summer day is good, but in general, I love melting and turning into an ice. Into a spuddy ice? Potato ice, right, spuddy ice. I like turning into ice, but not a huge fan of melting. Being gooey is gross. Oh, hi, Cove. You noticed Mom waving over at Cove, who had just exited his front door, his surfboard propped up under one arm. Surfing? Did he get his cast? Oh, right, it's like 5 years later. I remembered. Let me see. Surfboard and wetsuit. Where might you be off to on this beautiful day? Cove flinched at being called to so suddenly. He hadn't realized there were people out here already, but he quickly recovered. Cove stayed on his side of the driveway, giving a small waving greeting. After a moment or two of deliberation, he jogged over to properly say hello to you and your moms. That's such a mood. Like, do I want to come over, or do I just want to say hi and continue on? Hello, honey. Hi, Cove. He adjusted the surfboard under his arm a little, getting a better grip on it. If you want to go to the beach, we could hang out there later. Aw, he's so cute. Sure, I'll meet you there when we're done.
Cool.
Aw. I'll see you, Gemstone. Yeah. You watched as Cove headed off towards the beach, unable to hide your grin, knowing that you might be joining him soon. Once everything had finally been taken in and put away, you got yourself ready to meet Cove at the beach. Should Gemstone know how to surf? Okay, honestly, if she's been living here her whole life, she definitely knows how to surf. Like, if you're living by the ocean and you're a child, surely you've got to have tried it at some point. Suffering Gem. That's probably more like what it would be like in real life. Do I have my own surfboard? Yeah, probably. You had a surfboard in your room that you wanted to take with you. You had been practicing your surfing more and more lately. It was always ready to go. Yeah, I mean, surely Cove's surfed before, so we must have surfed with him before, so this should be all good. After grabbing your board and getting everything ready, you headed down to the beach. Stay safe. When you arrived at the shore, you were greeted by the crash of waves and the soft calls of seagulls. Soft calls? I want to meet these seagulls instead. You took in a lungful of the ocean air and felt your olive skin warm in the sun. You noticed a small setup nearby with a towel, some sunscreen, and a bottle of water. It must be Cove's. You spotted Cove himself nearby. He hadn't gone out to sea yet. He was just sitting in the sand at the water's edge, his board propped up beside him. Is he waiting for us? I mean, surfing? I figured, but the first one's probably more like it. Is he waiting for us? Aw. You strolled up beside him. Hey, I'm here. Gemstone. He looked at you with a smile and quickly hopped to his feet. I was gonna go in on my own soon. It kinda seemed like you weren't coming. Sorry you had to wait. You don't have to say that. It's okay. Then he cast his eyes out towards the waves. Hi, Sky. Welcome. No, you're late. That's alright. Not too much has happened. We brought groceries in, and Cove invited us to go surfing with him. So we're heading in. I also started a few minutes late, so you haven't missed too much. Cove, I'm not that good at surfing. You dragged a toe through the sand, feeling silly, but still worried nonetheless. He gave a bent smile. So, we're just gonna have fun, right? Yeah. They making sweet, sweet surf and turf. That's like a food thing, right? When you have like seafood and regular stuff as well. His words made you feel better, and the two of you headed into the water together. You paddled out into the sea where the good waves were. The water was cool against your skin. Oh, this is so beautiful. Whoa! Look at the wave texture. That's like the first thing I noticed. I didn't even notice it. I was like, wow, look at the waves. Not too calm, but nothing crazy. It looks perfect today. He smiled at you, and you couldn't help but smile back. You felt totally content. Until Cove kicked the water a little too hard, and it inadvertently splashed you. We're in the water already. It's fine. Hey! Sorry. Did that hit you? Sorry. You could tell he really did feel bad that you had gotten caught in the crossfire. Yay, surfing. You totally missed that? Oh, you've gone surfing before? How was it? It looks cool, but also very tricky. Let's do a little splashback. Let's be playful. You laughed, but waited for an opening for revenge. The second he looked away, you kicked back, spraying him. It quickly devolved into a splash war. You had no idea who was winning at the point when the ocean decided to throw its weight around and douse you both with a tall wave. Do it every summer? Ah, that sounds fun. Cove laughed, his smile infectious. You couldn't help but join in. Draw. Yeah. You nodded at one another from your boards, bringing the war to a peaceful end. Cove pointed out into the distance. You followed his finger to see some nice-looking waves. Hey, let's get going. You agreed. No doubt there was room for you to do something good. You were ready to have some fun. You started taking on waves. Cove tried out a few tricks, and you got into the rhythm of finding just the right waves. Have you ever thought of what the fish and other ocean animals think we're doing here? Have you?
Not really.
Didn't you just? Okay. It seemed that was all he was going to say on the topic. He started to turn away to paddle to the next wave when he spoke again. Oh, that's weird. Cove reached in the water and pulled out something small and brown. Was it a tiny stick? A clothespin? Cove looked at it with disbelief. He blinked slowly. Then he raised the clothespin with a mischievous look in his eye. I guess it's needed. How else would dolphins hang up their flippers? They gotta be stored somehow. Oh, I love it. You have good taste. You played around for the rest of the afternoon and kept chatting in between the waves. You thought about how you would surf today. You did pretty good. You're definitely improving. No. I wish, but I bet... For something like that, would I eventually improve based on other things? You're okay today. Nothing special. This was an average surfing practice. You made a few mistakes and had a few successes. There wasn't anything to pull it one way or another. It was still fun with Cove. What an afternoon. The setting sun was visible on the horizon. Every time you would look away, it had sunk a little lower. The beach was darkening, but still pleasantly warm. You knew you should get out of the water before it was completely dark in the sea. You rode one last wave to get back to the beach. There, you picked up your surfboard and gave it a quick once-over. Cove followed behind you to the shore. He put his board with his other things and grabbed his towel to start drying off. As he ruffled his hair with the towel, you watched the sunset together. The colors were beautiful in the distance, and the shadows around you deepened. There was no need for words between you, as you both enjoyed the sight for a moment. Cove broke the silence. The waves were good today, I think. Yeah, totally. He nodded mildly. Aw, he's so cute. This art is adorable. You've gotten so good. You couldn't help but smile at the praise. It meant a lot coming from him. You chatted a little more until the conversation truly died out, and all you heard was the rhythmic sound of waves. Then Cove sighed. The day can't be over. Not yet. Ah yes, taking off a wetsuit. Now the real fun starts. Those things look so, difficult. He scowled into the distance, as if the sun exiting the sky was a personal offense. Mood. Don't you think it should be longer? I'd probably be fairly tired after a long day of surfing, so just a shrug. Cove stood up straight in defiance of the approaching darkness. I'm not gonna go home yet. I wanna go somewhere. I don't know. Cove was still dripping in salt water, so you weren't sure what the alternative was. Wetsuits were fine for the beach, and not much else. It wasn't a good idea for him to lug his surfboard around town either. I know there's all the cute flirtatious options, but I kind of want to wait till the adult one for that. Why? Just to torture you. He has a front zipper, so I don't know how he laid on his belly the whole time. Yeah, that sounds uncomfortable. No. We'll be sure to be Oh, that's me. We'll be sure to be welcome anywhere soaking wet like this. Cove finally took note of his current state and laughed. He shrugged. Then he looked down the shore with wide, shining eyes. There's at least one place it's always okay to hang out in, no matter what time it is. The park. You nodded. The park was virtually always empty. Even Elizabeth only went over there nowadays if she was looking for you. How times have changed. She used to be so protective of the place. In fact, the only person there was a chance of running into might be that Jeremy kid again. You brought the idea up to Cove and he cringed, but I'm still going. The sun is still there, a little. I'm staying out as long as it is. You tagged along. Okay, let's go. Cove took a minute to put his stuff in order. He made sure to get it all, though he didn't take much care to shake the sand off. You dealt with your own things. You took your time to pack your bag. The two of you finished at about the same time. Yeah, we the careful ones. I know what it's like. As a final touch, Cove plucked his glasses off the beach and put them back on his face. He looked more like himself now. He led the way down the beach to the park. It wasn't far, so it didn't take you long at all. The sun still hadn't completely disappeared just yet when you made your arrival. Cove stuck his surfboard upright in the sand and tossed his towel over top. By now, the two of you were mostly dry. The summer breeze on your skin kept you pleasantly warm. Do not leave sand on the surfboard. Oh. Like care stuff to keep it better longer? I know about the waxing stuff, but not really why. Cove idly went over to the monkey bars. He grabbed them, feet flat on the ground, and pretended to go across. He had definitely grown in the past few years. Yummy sand. You were still short enough to use the monkey bars yourself. Sometimes being tiny had its perks. Mood. Literally. When he got to a bar in the middle, Cove pulled himself up and through, then sat on top of the bars. His legs dangled off the side of the bar he perched on. It'll have scratches and it gets stuck in the wax. Ah. You joined him on the monkey bars. You looked above yourself to inspect the monkey bars. You might have been short, but that just gave you more experience in climbing things. Literally. Literally me. You leapt and grabbed at one of the bars, using the momentum to swing yourself up. It took a little more scrambling, but you made it to the top. Cove seemed impressed. Monkey time, yeah. You settled on the monkey bar like it was a throne. You didn't get to be above everything often. Oh my goodness, it's literally me. Guess what? He smiled broadly and raised an eyebrow. He's not here. Right. It was true. There wasn't a single sign of Jeremy. Looks like it was just going to be the two of you tonight. Ooga ooga. Cove hung his head and groaned dramatically. Your eyes widened when he whipped his head back up.
No way.
Oh? I can't believe how dumb my parents are for forcing me to come to this stupid place. You were taken aback and blinked for a second before you realized he was quoting Jeremy. Oh my goodness. I was like, wait, what? What's going on? He's not on his evil arc, don't worry. Yeah, I was like, oh no. After all this time, still? I thought we were friends. Not yet or not ever? Oh. Not that one. I mean, we don't know his story, but he was also kind of just a mean little kid. Maybe this one. No, he's just literally an ass. Okay. When he grows up, he stays it? He says it. Okay. Don't scare me like that. One Jeremy is enough. Cove chuckled back at you, a mischievous glint in his eye. You looked around. The old park, the streets you knew like the back of your hand, and the beach. These were your stomping grounds. You wondered how Cove actually felt. How much was his joke just a joke? And how much was sincere dislike of this place? Moving had never been his choice. Do you actually like this neighborhood? Do you really have to ask that, Gemstone? Cove kicked his legs carelessly as they dangled. He smiled softly. I like it here. I really do. It's a nice place. He didn't hesitate. There was no uncertainty. That was his genuine opinion. Gonna go silent for a sec? All good. Get yourself a snack while you're... Oh, in Mega Focus Gamer mode. Okay. Also Romance Cove, Romance Cove, Romance Cove. You nodded wordlessly. A contented feeling fell between the two of you. My romance is a little more understated. You get lots of adorable moments. Yeah. When you try to romance here? Ah, okay. Ooh, okay. Maybe I will try a little bit. As in this step? Yeah. It didn't take long for the day to finally draw to a close. The sun was gone and it was dark. You chatted a while longer, but it was definitely winding down. The best romance thing hasn't come at least? Yet at least? Ah, okay. You chose not to say anything. You sat in the dark in silence. Cove shifted positions so that his back was on the monkey bars and he could look up at the stars. You wondered how comfortable that would be. Let's join him and find out! Look at the moon. It's so clear tonight. You glanced up and saw a great gibbous moon swelling over the sky. Few clouds covered the sparkling stars above. Oh, this sounds fantastic. Too bad we can't stay forever. Cove sighed. It was time to go home. He hopped down from the monkey bars with a thump when his feet hit the ground. You clambered down the monkey bars yourself. You lowered yourself more slowly than Cove and barely made a sound when your feet reached the ground. I'd just be like, jump full ham off. Slam into the ground, probably fall over. Cove grabbed his surfboard and threw his towel around his neck. With his water bottle in hand, he was ready. You both began your trek up the road. It was a quiet night, and you didn't run into anyone else. In what felt like no time at all, you had reached your street. As you walked, Cove smiled to himself. It was a soft expression, and you couldn't help but wonder what put it there. Everything okay? I just remember when we were younger. It used to be such a big deal to come home after dark. Yes. You could indeed recall. If you got sandy, your parents would have something to say. If you got wet, your parents would have more to say. And if you came home after dark, well, your mom's and his dad better have said it was okay beforehand. You used to need permission for everything. That small comment you made exposed just how much freedom you really had this summer. Cove looked up into the sky, a smile still on his face as the two of you walked side by side, reminiscing. When you came to your houses, you turned to each other. Bye. It was nice seeing you. Cove waved, and you both turned around to your respective houses. This was a pleasant end to the outing, you thought. Ah, lovely. Let's go ahead and save. There we go. Alright, what next? Growing dinner. Growing dinner. Let's do dinner. We'll do growing and then road trip. I feel like that's a good order. Sunlight shone through the windows as you sat in your living room. Your home phone pressed to your ear. Road trip is last? Yeah. Cove was on the other end. And that's where you get a chance to smash teeth. Oh, what a elegant way of putting it. Go mwah mwah mwah. Oh my goodness. I love you, Cove. And all that other stuff. Fair enough. Sunlight shone through the windows as you sat in your living room. Your home phone pressed to your ear. Cove was on the other end. It had been shaping up to be an ordinary day, like any other, until Cove had called unexpectedly. He sounded unusually nervous to greet you. You listened silently as he kept talking, his words stilted. So, I was just, wondering, do you want to come over to my house for dinner tonight? The question came out strangely, almost like he'd rehearsed it a few times beforehand. Date? Oh, I don't know. We'll find out. See, is it just him inviting me, or is it his dad inviting our family? There's a difference. Your eyes widened a little. You hadn't expected this to be the reason behind the call. Yeah, I'll go. It was... Huh? Oh. Oh, no. We're just gonna try that again. I don't want to interrupt him. You kept listening. Cove continued. His next words sounded rehearsed too, and tinged with nervousness. See, the reason that I was reloading there was not only because I'm so near the beginning, but also because the tone of voice would indicate if he had more to say, right? So, if I had known that he was like still talking, I wouldn't have interrupted. Justification. Anyway. His next words sounded rehearsed too, and tinged with nervousness. My mom and dad, they really want you to be there. If your parents don't have a problem with it, they asked me to ask you. So his parents invited just me. Interesting. You took a moment to think. Dinner at home would be quiet and uneventful today. If you really wanted to, you could go to Cove's instead. Cove spoke up, breaking your thought train. His voice was softer than before. Also, I want you to be there too. Can you? Come over, I mean? That doesn't sound awkward at all. Yeah, no kidding. We're not asking this. Should we ask or just say that we can go? I'd have to ask. I definitely have to ask. I'll have to ask my moms and get back to you. Okay, tell me when you can. He sounded noticeably relieved by your response. Was you coming over for a dinner today that serious? The cute little goofy face. He spoke to you for a little while longer to explain what time to come over and other details, then hung up. And that was that, for now anyway. You called Ma right afterwards, and she picked up on the third ring. Whoops. It wasn't a long conversation. When you asked to go to the Holden house for dinner, she was more than happy to give permission for it. No problems there. Ma wasn't one to complain about you spending time with Cove. All our parents ship it. Cove got a quick call from you afterwards, so he knew for sure that you would attend the dinner. Then you said your goodbyes and went on with the afternoon. Soon enough, the sun dipped out of the sky and evening came. It was time for you to head to Cove's house. After letting Elizabeth know you were leaving, she didn't look away from the TV, just grunted, you made the small journey across the street. I love small journeys across the street. You knocked a couple times on the heavy door to their condo. As you waited for an answer, you found yourself contemplating being a guest while both of Cove's parents were there. The idea made you curious. You wondered why they decided to invite you out of the blue. Maybe you'd find out later tonight. You didn't get too much time with your thoughts, though. The door opened soon enough. Cove's mom, Kyra, stood in the frame, smiling warmly at you. Hey, Gemstone. Welcome. Please come on in. She opened the door wider and moved to make room. You stepped inside, allowing her to shut it behind you. This is not the first time we're here, right? Okay, good.
Thanks so much for coming over. I know it was kind of last second. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Just make yourself at home. It's not my home, but I've been given permission to say that. Hey, Gemstone. Welcome to our humble abode.
Wait, is this actually the first time we're here? He's been here for 5 years. We're best friends. I don't know. We'll find out.
You jerked your head towards the sound of Mr. Holden's voice. He waved at you briefly from the kitchen, with his back turned and a large spoon in hand.
She's just a weird guy, him shy. Did he seriously? Have we not been over the whole time? Surely he must have invited our whole family over with Mr. Holden's friendliness. No? Nope, not at all. Oh my gosh, really? That's crazy. Never. Okay, well now you're overselling it. I don't know anymore. Just never have. Oh, okay, you're joking with me. Got it. Wait, it can happen in the DLC? I'm so confused. Hope you're hungry, because I'm whipping up a lot of tasty stuff. No, I swear I'm not joking. She's never been over. They've lived next to each other and been best friends for 5 years. In base game, you never visit until now. True to his word, you heard something sizzling on the stove. You closed your eyes and inhaled. It smelled spicy and savory. But with the DLC, you can visit like once or twice? Cove's been in your bedroom before, so I don't see a problem. Yeah. He literally snuck into my bedroom through the window. I'm gonna say surely we've been here before. There's no way. Maybe not, like, not in-game, but... With Mr. Holden busy and Cove nowhere to be seen, it was just you and Kyra. She gave you a wry smile. He sure is. Well, I've been barred from cooking the entire time I'm staying here. Can you believe that? She nudged you with an elbow. Mr. Holden scoffed good-naturedly, then spoke from over his shoulder. You're on vacation, Kyra. You need to accept that already. She yelled back, amusement obvious on her face and in her tone. People still cook when they're on vacation. Everyone's gotta eat. It's not like I'm some celebrity who can go out for every meal or hire a private chef. Well, in this house, you're a VIP. Kyra smiled and shook her head quietly. Then she turned to face you once more. They seem cute. Sorry about that, Gemstone. Here I was trying to strike up a conversation with you, and Cliff just had to butt in. I don't butt in. She eyed him, chuckling in disbelief. He wasn't exactly disproving her point with that. They're both very strong-spirited. I see. Gosh, just get back together. Kyra leaned over to whisper to you. It's okay. He likes to be included. But since Clifford insisted on cooking all by himself, he'll have to wait. The two of us can chat. Her next question continued to be said in a hushed tone, just to be safe.
So?
How are you doing?
Wouldn't work out? Yeah, I get that vibe. I can tell why they got together in the first place, but I can also tell why they got apart. Why they split. Got apart? Why they split, yeah.
Oh, I'm good.
Kyra didn't seem too convinced by your awkward phrasing, but she nodded anyway. They still, enjoy each other's company and love Cove, but that's never happening. They know smooch smooch no more. Oh, man. Yeah, I can see the dynamic. Probably would have worked better just staying as friends, but yeah. She opened her mouth to say something more, but some lightly pounding footsteps caught your attention. You checked to see Cove emerge from the hall a few moments later. Yeah, see, we knew where the kitchen and the... Well, we know that it's a hall. I guess... maybe not. I don't know. If they stayed as friends, then no Cove. No SMH, how could you, Jim? Just like, you know, theoretically. Obviously, I'm glad that Cove's here, but... He might have heard all the commotion and left his room to see what was going on. He quickly took stock of the situation. See, we have been here. Wait, no. Yeah, I just can't comprehend living across the street from your best friend for 5 years and never, like, going in. Especially with how friendly their dad is. Surely he's invited the whole family over before, right? Cove's built different. Yeah, but his dad, though. I cannot see his dad not inviting us over. I don't know. And so is his dad.
Gemstone, hi. Thanks for being here.
There was nothing unusual about the words in his greetings, but you could tell something was wrong from the way he looked like he wanted to be anywhere but there. Uh-oh. What's going on?
Hi, Cove. You doing okay? Yeah, I'm fine.
He didn't sound convincing at all. You narrowed your eyes suspiciously, but didn't call him out on it. If you could talk to him alone tonight, maybe you'd ask him what was going on then. It was when you glanced away from Cove that you spotted his parents watching the two of you interact. Cove noticed their stares too, meeting them with narrowed eyes. Hum, smooch, smooch. I'm not sorry. I know, Potato, I know you're not sorry in the slightest. Are we having dinner now?
Not yet, bud. I'm still cooking.
Alright. I'm gonna go back to my room. You two are my rom-com. As he turned to leave, he bent his head to the side to face you.
You coming?
Next season is the romance season, I just know it. The question was quiet, but you heard it clearly. You smiled, pleased that he asked, and nodded in the affirmative. Cove turned fully and made his way down the hall. Oh, Kyra, stop! Have fun, you two.
We'll call you when food's ready to go.
With that, you followed after Cove. The two of you made your way down the hall. Yeah. We get to pick! Perfect. I feel like he'd be pretty personal about his room, so maybe only rarely. Like, we've hung out in the living room and stuff, but still a little personal for his room, maybe? You had visited Cove's room before, but only rarely. Cove got to the door first, opening it and stepping inside. You joined him. Ah, this is so cute. Oh, his surfboard.
He's got fish.
A map, a few books. Ooh, shell collection. Nice. There was a mat on the floor in front of the door. As you stepped over the threshold into his room, you felt the crunch of sand beneath your feet. The sensation was nothing new to you, of course. Cove constantly came back to his room covered in sand, not bothering to clean himself off at the French door. French door? What is wrong with me right now? Apologies. I have a brain. It's out today. Off at the front door, and got it all over his personal space. That's just how he was. A little bit of a mess, but look how clean his room is. What? Actually, some things and not other things, that's very relatable. Never mind, I get it. You hadn't heard Mr. Holden ever scold him for it. Not like your moms would if you've done it.
You can sit wherever you want.
Cove himself took a seat at the edge of his large bed, looking like the picture of comfort, and left you to decide. Aw, I can't sit on the floor? I would sit on the floor.
Okay, well, the chair is just so far away, you know? Like, it's way over here. Maybe if it was, like, closer, I would sit on that instead, but it's so far.
I would sit on the floor next to the bed, but
you sat next to Cove on his bed. Cove smiled when you made yourself at home beside him. You grinned back. With the silence growing, your gaze began to drift. You stared at the bright fish swimming in the tank. There were a bunch of them, floating to and fro in the open space. They stood out starkly against the green aquarium plants. How long have you had those fish? My dad bought them for me not long after I moved here. I guess it's been years now. Wow, that's a long time. You peered carefully into the tank. The fish looked to be doing well. He must take good care of them. Most of them were small, but there was one especially big one. What are their names? I don't name them. Well, not really. You lifted an eyebrow at that. Sorry, yawn. He continued the explanation sheepishly. Mostly I just call them things based on what they look like. Squirt for a small one, tangerine for a really orange one. That sort of thing. I've had a lot of fish and I'm not that good at coming up with names.
It's not surprising. I get it. It's kind of amusing. Not super relatable, because I would come up with, well... Yeah, no, I would come up with random names for everything. Frank. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely had some interesting name choices for some of my stuffed animals.
You found that funny. Who knew that was a weakness of his? It was an entertaining revelation. Oh, a couple of them have other types of names. He pointed to a small orangish redfish. It was minding its own business, away from the others. My dad named her Dreamcatcher, and that other one's Mark. Mom came up with that one.
Fair enough. Fair enough. The dad naming it Dreamcatcher and the mom naming it a human name, Mark. Yeah. Yeah, I get those energies.
Cove smiled to himself, his eyes reflecting the glow from the tank. Jimmy Neutron. You let other people... Oh, that's me?
Fimish Nuban?
You let other people name your fish? He then turned to you, tilting his head to the side. There was a considering look on his face. Do you want to name one? Can I? His smile grew a little at your interest. Sure. There's a few who don't have names right now, the newer ones. You can pick what you want to name. He pointed at each of the recent acquisitions out to you. The first was the smallest fish in the tank. It was completely orange and zipped all over the place, running laps around the others. The second was slightly bigger and red. Its tail was dotted with black spots, which almost resembled freckles. The last fish was the biggest one. Its multicolored scales rippled under the bright light of the tank as it slowly made its way across the vast expanse. You went with... So the small one is orange, medium is red with black spots, the biggest fish is rainbowy. Red with black spots on its tail that look like freckles. Not me trying to legitimately come up with a name. Let's name the medium fish. Cove only nodded at your answer, waiting on you to decide a suitable name. You watched the fish you chose closely. As you did, a name eventually came to you. That's literally how I name things. Oh. Oh, hey. Oh! You said Frank because that's an actual answer. I was like, no way, you guessed it! But you've played this game before. The rainbow one reminds me of a German kids book. Ah. Wait, what? Wait, did you not remember that Frank was an option? Frank? Something deep within your brain reminded you. Okay. Red fish, black spots. Blood! It's muscle memory, yeah. Okay. Red, black spots. Maybe like dusk or sunset? Nightfall? What do you guys think of nightfall? Because it's like the black descending on the red sun or something? Bunger? What? I kind of like Nightfall. That's a good name. Ladybug? Oh, that's also a good one. Oh. Like Miraculous Ladybug. Oh, that's good. Nightfall or Ladybug? Ladybug makes more sense. If it was like orange and pink and black, it would make more sense to be Nightfall, but Ladybug is really good. Nice one, Sky. Alright, it's Ladybug. With that, his attention moved from you to the tank. He peered fondly at it and its inhabitants. You smiled proudly at Ladybug as it swam through the tendrils of the plants, disappearing, then reappearing soon after. You know, I'm not allowed to have pets in my house, not even fish. The corners of Cove's lips turned down at that. That doesn't sound fair. It's not like fish would make a mess of your house or anything. You just gotta take care of their tank and feed them, and they'll be okay. We were a house with hamsters and rats and eventually a dog. I wanted pets all my life. I eventually discovered that I'm probably not a pet person. Because the only pet that I've really got along with really well is actually cats, but I'm extremely allergic. So, Cyanops ocellatus, found the Latin name. I thought you were saying that you're not a pet. Well, moving on. No, what? But yeah, so cats are the ones that I'm bark. Cats are the ones that I am best with, but very allergic, so yeah, yikes. I get it. They don't want to worry about more lives than the two they're already raising. That's what they say about it. I never thought about it like that before. We didn't do well with hamsters. Oh. Your current conversation brought to mind a memory from years ago. You launched into it without any warning, earning you a brief confused look from Cove. One time, Elizabeth, came back from playing at the beach and just shut herself in her room. She only came down for food, and then she ran back upstairs straight after. It was kind of weird. My moms didn't think too much of it at first, though. But then that night, Mom went to her room to say goodnight and started screaming. Moms and I ran over to see what happened. Lizzie had this huge lizard in her arms. Oh my gosh. Cove's eyebrows rose at that, and he leaned forward in interest. A lizard? Where'd that come from? Elizabeth said she saw it half buried in the sand and didn't know what it was. Then she pulled it out and got the answer, so she brought it home. She hid the lizard in her room for most of the day because she wanted to keep it. Mom and Ma were not happy. They worried about putting it out during night, but she was going to have to let it go in the morning. Lizzie was really upset. She did bring it back to the beach eventually, but she wouldn't talk to anyone for days. When she did get over it, it was almost like it never happened. You laughed, thinking back to that time. Elizabeth had always been stubborn, but when she was younger, she forgot grudges quickly. Now it wasn't so easy. Cove had been quiet for most of the story, apart from the reveal of the lizard. He had a thoughtful look on his face. I can't even imagine what it'd be like to have a sibling. You gave serious thought to his statement before you told him, there are ups and downs. It's fun to have her there when she wants to be there, but now Elizabeth barely feels like hanging out with me. Cove pursed his lips at the words, considering them quietly for a while.
Cool.
That's interesting. I think your family is cool. He didn't have much else to say. Though, while on the topic of your family, you considered your relationship with your moms too. You got along with your moms. You had disagreements with them, but at the end of the day, you loved them, and they loved you. That's what really mattered. Well, say what you want about them, but at least your moms never tried to pay someone to be your friend. Oh no, don't bring that up. The thought prompted you to look over at Cove. Oh, is this the later point that you mentioned? He probably still didn't know that happened. You doubted that Mr. Holden mentioned it, and you never had. You wondered if you should tell him. It was a long time ago. But you were keeping a secret from Cove. Ba-ba-ba. Don't mind me. Which answer should I pick? You didn't tell him it was a bad time, you weren't sure how he'd react, secrets were meant to be kept, you just didn't want to have that talk with Cove. You decided to tell him. You took a deep, steadying breath to prepare yourself for the conversation. Now you just had to figure out how to tell him. You have to, morally. Yeah. Cove, I have something important to tell you. Cove's head cocked to the side at your serious tone. He turned to give you his full attention. It's a good thing we didn't take the money, or else this conversation would be way more awkward. What is it? You stared into his bright ocean eyes. You told him the truth. This happened back when you moved here. It was the first time I met your dad. There's not really any other way to say it, so he offered me $20 to be friends with you. Cove sat still. Uncharacteristically, there was an unreadable expression on his face. His eyes seemed to look through you, and you didn't know what to do next. No! We should have told him that we didn't take it. Hardship makes people closer. Then, without saying a word, Cove stood up from his bed in a single motion, and he just bolted right out of the room. For a moment, you didn't move a muscle. You were in shock. This was... Oh no. You do tell him later? Okay, good. I'm so glad I didn't take that 20. I mean, I never would. Like, ever. I would never take money to be friends with someone, but... Your senses quickly came back. You shot out into the hall after him. Cove! There was no response to your call. You could see Cove down the way. He had already sprinted back to the living room. His arms were stuck at his sides, with hands tightly balled into fists. He might not have been facing you, but you didn't need to see his face to know how he felt. Cove was furious. His furious looks a lot more like awkward. He doesn't look very angry. His parents were nearly finished setting the table. They greeted him, none the wiser of what was about to happen.
Huh?
Hey, what's up? When did you start running in the house? He's got that embarrassed anger face. Yeah, I guess so. Are you that famished? You were able to catch up in full and stand near Cove. His parents' words didn't even register in his ears. Their child was wholly focused on another matter. He was practically shaking. Oh no, poor baby Cove. Cove took one more step forward and glared up at his father's face. You paid Gemstone to be friends with me? Oh no. Oh, this is making me so sad. Mr. Holden froze. He looked like a helpless deer caught in the headlights.
Seriously?
Clifford! Are you serious? He whipped his head toward Kyra, his eyes wide and I'm so frazzled that I can't even speak. His eyes wide and blinking rapidly. Clifford the big blonde dumbass. I say that with love. Oh, that's beautiful. That's actually so good. It was only one time. Oh no. The admission elicited an aghast expression from his ex-wife. Mr. Holden raised his hands up to gesture defensively. One time, yeah. It seemed like a good idea when it happened. She covered her eyes with one hand. It was clear that her patience was frayed, but she was not so shocked anymore. Mr. Holden bowed his head, rubbing the back of his neck guiltily. The fact that she accepted this as something he'd do so easily seemed to be the most crushing part. Oh, yeah. Cove stood there, fuming silently during their little aside. His eyebrows furrowed painfully, and his eyes trembled. Hello, I am Coffee. Welcome. We're doing an intense family moment. We just told our longtime childhood friend Cove, that his dad tried to pay us to be friends with him when he first moved here, like 5 years ago. We refused, obviously. But now we're gonna see what happens now that he's found out. I felt so bad for everybody. None of this was good at all. It was terrible. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, but must have been only minutes, the tense silence was broken by Cove. Oh no. I don't want to stay here. That immediately caught his parents' attention. They turned to him with twin expressions of worry. Hey, wait a minute, bud. You don't have to do that.
It's alright.
There's still your room. We'll stay out of your way, I promise. Where could you go at this time of day? It's almost night. Oh no. I need to have a sad gemstone for this. I feel bad smiling. That's how close you two are. Yeah. Your internet shut down for a minute? Oh no. He was just silent for a minute and said he didn't want to stay here. And then he said he could just stay with me. I will continue to push this with no remorse. I can stay with Gemstone. He stormed out of the house without waiting for another response. You jumped as the door slammed closed behind him. Oh no. Should I wait to see what they have to say for a second? I feel like I should. Right? Not me. Save's coming. Look away. You just stood there. Cove's parents sighed deeply in unison once the door was shut. For a handful of seconds, no one spoke again. Then Mr. Holden slumped his shoulders, his gaze still lowered. Sorry, Kyra. Kyra shook her head. Though visibly unhappy, she seemed more disappointed than angry. I don't want to fight about this. I don't even want to talk about this, honestly. Unless there's anything else I should know that's been going on while I'm away. No. There isn't.
Fine.
Oh no. Oh no. let's give Cove some time to calm down. We can try and convince him to come home later. Mr. Holden's mouth tightened, but he nodded in agreement. He seemed defeated. Okay. You shifted your feet, feeling awkward. Kyra glanced over at you, her eyes widening as if she just realized that you were still there.
All right.
Ah, Gemstone. Sorry for this. I guess dinner's kind of ruined, huh? Could you go home for now? It wasn't like you had much of a choice, but you nodded anyway, before making your way to the front door. Yikes. You slipped on your shoes without a word. Just as you left, though, Mr. Holden quietly called out to you. I'm real sorry for involving you, Gemstone. You glanced over your shoulder and met his eyes. The smile he offered you was a shadow of the real thing. You carefully shut the door behind you, letting out a deep breath. Then you began to walk. You stopped once you reached the middle of the street. You glanced around, but you couldn't see Cove anywhere. You hadn't locked the door, so it was possible he'd gone inside by himself. There was only one way to find out. You made the very brief trip back and entered your house. By then, night had fully come. Cove was indeed there. He sat sulkily on your couch, staring at his hands that rested in his laps. You closed the door behind you and approached him, silent. You didn't even get to ponder what to do. He got up and walked a few paces away from you. The two of you stood tensely together in the middle of your living room. The night really hadn't gone as you imagined it would. At least Elizabeth wasn't around, and your moms were out. You had no idea how you would have explained the situation to them, and you were sure Cove wouldn't have been up for that. He watched you from a distance. His expression wasn't hostile, but was not exactly welcoming either. When I joked that this would be awkward, I didn't think it would be this bad. Yeah, this is... Yikes. Romance, Gem, romance. Are you okay? Cove shifted so his back was to you. Then he crossed his arms over his chest. Are you mad at me? To your surprise, he actually responded. What? No.
It's okay.
I wish I'd known before, but I guess there's never really a good time to bring up something like that. You're not the one who did anything. His tone was clipped and insulting, though it was now fully clear that none of the negativity was towards you. Oh no, Cove. And we're actually friends, aren't we? It doesn't matter if you took it or not. You wouldn't pretend for years just 'cause of Dad's money. Our baby boy, yeah. You nodded your head furiously at that. If there was one thing you didn't want this revelation to do, it was weaken your relationship. Of course we're friends. Cove seemed to appreciate your reassurance. The furrow in his brow eased a little. Yeah, we are. I'm definitely not mad at you. I should thank you for not letting him get to you. And for telling me it happened. My dad never would have. He's always like that. He just does things. He doesn't ask or tell me about it or anything. Cove threw his arms out, his features twisted in frustration. There already was the thing with my mom coming to stay with us for the summer out of nowhere. And that was supposed to be a surprise I'd find out about. Who knows what other things he's done that I've never heard of? Does he even know how to think about what someone else might actually want? He paused to take a panting breath, scowling. You continued to listen quietly. Uninterrupted by you, Cove went on with his spiel. The worst part is, I know he doesn't do stuff for himself. He does things 'cause he wants to make people happy. Oh. Cove blinked rapidly, and you noticed tears were gathering in his eyes. When he spoke again, his voice was heavy with emotion. But he just makes everything worse, and then he's really sorry, and it's like it's your fault for not being happy that he was at least trying. And what if all his plans and always being so pushy did change things?
This should not be this relatable. Yes, Sky. Yeah, yikes.
What things? Cove finally met your gaze, his bottom lip trembling. You realized then that he was referring to you and him. What if what he did made you stay away from me before we even got to know each other? His voice cracked as he forced himself to speak through the tears that began to fall in earnest. He did everything he could to say it, but the words were barely a whisper. Gemstone, you were the best thing about coming here. Cove was honestly terrified over the idea that there was a chance the two of you might not have what you do. You hugged him. Cove readily accepted the embrace. He wrapped his arms around you in return. The grip was firm. We are real friends, Cove. Don't worry. I've got you. You didn't need to say anything. You continued to stand by him, and that was enough. More tears threatened to fall down his cheek, but he stubbornly blinked them away. Friends, right? Yeah. You remained like that for just a little while. Then he scrubbed his eyes with the back of one hand. His gaze turned away from you, growing distant. He's like that with my mom, too. The anger he had begun to release bubbled back to the surface. Dad wants to make people happy, but he doesn't. Jemmy and Cove sitting in a tree. Crying. Oh, man. The words landed scathingly hard. You were certain it'd crush Mr. Holden if he heard them. First comes drama. You'd never known much about his parents' relationship, but you thought you understood it a bit better now. Second comes love. And then they something loved us. Beautiful potato. A masterpiece, truly. That's good. I'm here for you. Cove just looked at the ground. As the two of you were stifled by the quiet, a thought came to your mind, abrupt and sudden. Which one? Are we gonna point out something that he did that he liked? Or are we gonna tell him that we didn't take it? I feel like this is to repair our relationship a bit more, and this is to repair his relationship with his dad a little bit more. But also, he wasn't mad at us at all, so I feel like making sure... I don't know. We'll just do this one. What about your fish? You couldn't forget earlier that night. The way Cove spoke about them, how he watched them, how he cared for them. That was something special your dad did for you. It's been really important to you for a long time, right? He can make you happy. Cove's eyes opened a little wider. A fragile smile tugged ever so slightly at his lips. It was obvious Cove didn't want to think about his dad that way, but it was also hard not to right now. He must be conflicted over where to go from here. You stayed quiet. I felt like none of those weren't really my place to say. Cove frowned thoughtfully. You could tell he was thinking hard about what he was going to do. I'll talk to my mom and dad when they come. I know they will. Oh. We got an achievement for telling him. His face was set in determination. There was no way you could tell him to do anything else, even if you wanted to. so you only nodded.
I'm sorry.
Thanks, Gemstone. I'm sorry about all of this. Not at all, buddy. With a sigh, he walked over to the couch and sat down, his arms wrapped around himself. You watched him. You knew you couldn't leave him alone, but you also had trouble figuring out what to do. We were about to eat dinner, but I feel like he's probably not feeling that right now. Maybe just stay with him silently. Yeah, just stay there. You sat on the couch, settling in for the wait. Though Cove said nothing, he shot you a grateful look before staring at his lap once more. About 20 minutes must have passed. Then there came a knock on the door. Cove slowly turned his head towards it. It's gotta be them.
Yeah.
You considered answering, but Cove stood from his seat first. He opened it without any hesitation. He spent those 20 minutes in thought. From over his shoulder, you spotted his parents in the doorway. Cove, hi. How are you feeling, baby? I can go home now. No! Without another word, he walked past them. They let him pass before trading glances, looking equal parts surprised and concerned. Then they moved their eyes further into the house, right at you. Can I come with you? I don't... Mr. Holden was at a loss. To your relief, Kyra gestured over her way with a hand. Okay. She smiled carefully. You were invited. You quickly went over to where they were. I just feel like we shouldn't leave him alone, right? Like, we're already so thick in the drama. Why not? Why not give him a little bit of support? As you closed the front door behind you, the two of them rushed after Cove. You followed right behind them. The three of you crossed the street and walked through the open door. Cove was there, waiting. His arms were crossed protectively in front of himself. He met his parents' gazes evenly. I can talk to you now. His parents looked over at him, their features soft. Cove instead snuck a glance at you. You were glad you could be there for him. You stared back solidly, hoping you could convey your support with your eyes. It must have worked, because Cove stood up a bit straighter. Cove then fully faced his parents. I just feel like since we were also involved, like maybe if it was just something between just him and his parents, but we were also kind of involved in this situation, so, you know. I feel like it's okay to be here. Mr. Holden stepped forward cautiously, his expression twisting in dismay. I am so sorry. I should never have done something so stupid. It's okay. It really isn't. That was a boneheaded move if ever there was one. I was bribing an actual child, one I'd never met before that. One I'd never even met before that day. Bro, when you put it like that, that's weird. Cove almost cracked a smile, though he quickly regained his composure. Then it isn't, but I want things to be okay anyway. And you thought he was normal? I never said he was normal. Cove, I'm sorry. Kyra placed a hand on Mr. Holden's shoulder. Your dad doesn't believe there's something wrong with you, or that you can't make your own friends. He can explain. I know why Dad did it. He wanted me to be happy, that's all. He didn't think it'd be like this. It was an accident. Kyra sighed heavily. A sad smile appeared on her lips. You're a very grown-up, Cove. Mr. Holden brought his hands up against his forehead and began to pace around the room. He didn't seem to know what to do with himself. Free spirits facing emotional moments, poor guy. He turned back around to face Cove and Kyra. He looked more solemn than you'd ever seen him. I'm not going to do it again. I haven't done it again. Haven't tried to bribe more people, or haven't continued to step over a line without registering it? Both.
Mm-hmm.
He let out a heavy breath before shrinking down a little. It was impressive because he was pretty tall. I don't know, but I don't think so. Cove's throat bobbed as he swallowed quickly, thickly. He looked like he was trying to gather all his courage. When he spoke up, his voice was small but firm. You invited Mom here. His dad's eyes widened. Cove was ready to have a talk he had put off before. You didn't ask me if I wanted things to be like this. Both of you together again for just a little while. Mr. Holden's hands slowly returned to his forehead. He was stunned, as if someone had just hit him. I did it again, and I didn't even notice. What is wrong with me? Why can't I just do something right? At least Cove seemed relieved that he was able to say what he felt. You knew just how long he'd been holding that in. I really need a sadder gemstone if I'm gonna do stories. Oh no. It was quiet for a long stretch. Mr. Holden had sat down in a chair. His shoulders drooped and his head in his hands. You looked to Cove. He watched his dad, and how genuinely he was struggling with what he'd been told. Cove glanced down at the ground, then looked back to his dad. I'm not angry anymore. Slowly, Mr. Holden met his son's eyes. I can try to talk to you about things, and what I feel about stuff. I stopped saying that to you since everything happened. I didn't want to talk to you, but you won't have to guess if you know. Mr. Holden broke eye contact at that, shaking his head. My child shouldn't have to take care of me. You shouldn't have to make up for my shortcomings, Cove. I can fix things. I can still change. After having something of an outburst, Mr. Holden turned his face away and spoke more guardedly. Besides, I'm used to that already. I might not get it right, but not a damn thing would happen in what's left of this family if I wasn't making the effort. It's always me. What's one more thing to manage? Oh, emotional damage. Oh no. Dad. You're right, Cliff. I know. But I don't think Cove wants to take care of you. He just wants to understand. And he wants his dad to understand too. That's what matters, isn't it? Sorry if I go quiet for a while. I have some stuff that I need to upload and I don't want my tutors to think I'm dumb. Not a problem at all. You take all the time you need. You can leave if you need to, if you want to. It is completely up to you. I'm just glad you're here when you are. There's no obligation to stay here if you guys need other things. Need to do other things, you know. I do greatly appreciate you here, but there is no demand. It was still as Mr. Holden digested what Kyra said. He stared down at his empty hands held out in front of him. When he looked at Cove again, tiny tears glimmered in the corner of his eyes. He got up and crossed the room to his son. Cove didn't move or look away as he approached. Mr. Holden set his hands on Cove's shoulders, the touch firm. He furrowed his brows. Bud, you and I are going to talk about every single thought that ever pops into our heads. For the rest of your life. He shook Cove forward and back a bit. Tears slipped down Cove's cheeks, but he was smiling. No, I don't want that. Mr. Holden began to smile too. It trembled at the corners, but it was genuine. I'm afraid it's the only way. Kyra chuckled, even as she blinked away her own tears. Mr. Holden turned towards her. You better not be thinking you can get away from this, Kyra. The same is gonna apply to you. You can't. He let go of Cove with one hand while he placed his other round. his other arm around Cove's shoulders. Then he faced Kyra. He continued to talk as he walked in her direction, bringing Cove along with him. Oh. Then father and son were standing in front of her. Mr. Holden put his other arm around her. Now he had both of them in his arms.
If you think the ideas that I actually go with are bad, you two are going to be amazed by the thoughts I decide against all on my own.
Oh, this is so sweet. Kyra jokingly cringed at the concept. Cove smiled tearfully up at his parents.
Thanks, Dad. Thank you, son. But hey, you know what I'm thinking now?
Cove, wiping his face with the back of his hand, shook his head. Gosh, no, you're an incomprehensible maniac. Mr. Holden laughed, not disputing her words.
I'm thinking we should eat that dinner I painstakingly made. It's salvageable, just gotta heat it back up.
Kyra sighed in exaggerated relief. That we can manage, right, Cove?
Yeah. Great, we're making progress already. Though, I don't even know how I'm going to start making this up to Gemstone. Carrying that secret for all this time must have been quite the burden to bear. Plus, she didn't actually get any money out of the deal. She didn't take the 20.
I'm not mad about it or anything. It was a hard time for your family.
Either way, we, will work on it.
Okay. Cove ducked his head and spoke towards you. There was a tiny smile on his face.
Do you want to stay for dinner still?
I'd love to. Mr. Holden finally let go of his family. Kyra patted him on the back with a content sigh. You're very good boys. I'm so lucky. Cove shyly rubbed his arm, while Mr. Holden nervously rubbed his neck. Neither could make eye contact out of bashfulness. In that moment, they really did seem like father and son. Cove's family was nice, you thought to yourself. You were glad that you got to come over. Save. I think I missed the romance part, but I feel like we got a pretty wholesome family interaction, so I am very satisfied with that. But unfortunately, romance and road trip, heck yeah. Looking forward to it. And growing is just a nice plot? Yeah. Gasp ending, yes. I do have work today, so I will have to leave it here for now, but thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed this part of the story, even the very painful family drama. Oh, not me actually getting like tense and freaking out a little bit. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. I'll be streaming this again next week as usual. Such a cute little story. So much fun, but I hope you all have a wonderful day, and farewell.